Powerful and provocative, prophetic and practical,
Have you ever found yourself?
Are you dating for that person?
informative and
I feel
inspirational.
every bit of it. Like, I'm not trying to waste my
How you gonna do better if you don't know what better looks like? I do. Come on, let's talk about it with me, the mind massager.
Triple.
With James Kirklin. Intellectual stew. Intellectual stew. Intellectual stew with James Kirklin. Intellectual stew.
Let me do my sharing.
Intellectual stew.
What's up, info? If y'all come on in and share this right quick, let's get we're ready to get started. Hope y'all hang out with me tonight for a little while. That's what I want. Oh, I want right there. Yeah.
Intellectual stew.
All right, let's get started. Who's coming here and who's coming is on the way. So it is what it is. All right, what's up? What it do? Time for another episode of the Intellectual Stew with yours truly, James Kirkman. We will be starting this, continuing this series that I started on last week called Y'all Did Me Wrong, but it's cool. It's cool. But before we go forward, I want to show a couple of snippets of last week's show. If you missed that, if you haven't had a chance to go back and watch the old episode, go back and check it out. But here, let me just show y'all a couple of snippets, and then we'll go forward tonight. If you have not shared this already, please, ma'am, please, sir, go ahead and share this. And we will get started tonight. I'm looking forward to tonight's show. We're going to talk about forgiveness tonight. That's a tough one. That's a tough one. But let's catch a snippet of what we talked about last week.
Can you honestly say that that you are where God wants you to be? And when you look through the rear view mirror of life and you stop being bitter and look at the bigger picture, you can really you ought to be able to testify and say that it was because of what I went through that I grew through.
Question is, what season in your life taught you integrity, patience, or strength, even though you hated going through it? What season taught you integrity, in patience, or strength, even though you hated going through. You say you've been there. What season? What was it? What was that season like? Because in that season, you could have easily been bitter. And be honest, I'm gonna raise my hand. Have you ever been done dirty? Real talk. I mean, just honestly, have you ever been done dirty? Has anyone ever betrayed you? Has anyone ever lied on you? Have you ever felt rejected? And my question, if you've ever found yourself in one of those categories, how did you handle it? With someone trying to sabotage you, someone doing you dirty, someone lying on you, someone rejecting you, how did you handle it? And if you've ever, drop a comment right quick if you've been in that situation where someone tried to sabotage you, but you ended up coming out better. All right. So those were some snippets from last week's show. If you missed that show, you really should go back and check that out. That was a good one, for real. That was a real good one. So yeah, if you missed last week's show, check that out. And yeah, we're gonna get going. But listen, we're gonna jump in tonight though, and we're gonna continue this conversation. Hey, what's up, Lisa? We're gonna continue this series about Joseph, and the topic that we chose is y'all did me wrong, but it's cool. And tonight we're gonna jump on this, the power of forgiveness, because it does take power to forgive. If you're coming in, do me a favor. First, say hi, say hello. And then number two, share this thread so some other people can jump in, because tonight I have a feeling that we're going to experience some breakthroughs tonight. I have a feeling we're going to take a stride forward. So if you have time, hang out with me tonight. Hang out with me tonight, because this is a good one. We're continuing this series of from Genesis chapter number 50. Genesis chapter number 50, dealing with the story of Joseph. But tonight we're gonna what's up, Melinda? Hey, how you doing? We're gonna jump in and we're gonna discuss this whole piece about forgiveness, because, and let's be real. Let's be real. And I want y'all to talk back to me. Y'all know I like this interactive stuff. So let's be real. Forgiveness is not easy. In fact, forgiveness is hard. It's hard, especially when the people who hurt you either were really, really close to you, and especially when they never apologized. They hurt you, and they were able to move on. So tonight we're going to continue our conversation on y'all did me wrong, but it's cool. But this time we're focusing on how Joseph was able to forgive his brothers and what him being able to forgive did for him. So let's get started right now. Let me ask a question to get started. Melinda, Lisa, Keisha, William, whoever's listening right now, Alicia, let me go ahead and ask a question to get started tonight. First of all, like, love this post, whatever you're gonna do. But let me ask this question to get us started tonight. Here it is. What's harder, letting go of the past or trusting God to handle those who hurt you? Which one is harder? Which one's harder? There the question is. What's harder? I want y'all to put this answer in the comment for me, please. Put this answer in the comment for me. Which one is harder? Letting go of the past or trusting God to handle the people who hurt you? Now, we can if you want to do it multiple choice, you can say A, letting go of the past, or B, trusting God to handle the people who hurt you. A, letting go of the past, trusting God to handle. Because that's a tough. But I'm gonna see what y'all's answers are. Okay, okay. Melinda said, "What's up, Dwayne?" Melinda said, "Letting go of the past." What's some of the other answers? Yeah, the other question is, we just now getting started. No C. There's no C. Now, if you're gonna D, if you want now, Dr. Dwyer, if you want to create a C, you can. But I really want to stay right here because I want to see something. Is it easy? Is it harder to let go of the past or to trust God to handle the people who hurt you? Because stick around, because what we're getting ready to do is we're going to break down how Joseph was able to forgive his brothers, what forgiveness did for him and what could have happened if he never forgave. Some of y'all ain't gonna give me no answers tonight. Y'all not gonna talk with me tonight. Y'all not gonna talk to me. Let me get your answers tonight. Let me get your answers. Let me get your answers. Which one is it? The question's still there. What's harder? Letting go of the past or trusting God to handle those who hurt you? All right, Melinda said, even though I trust God to handle them, I can get what they did. I can't get what I mean. I assume you mean I can't get what they did out of my thoughts. That's real. That's real talk. I appreciate that. That's real talk. That's transparency. And honestly, you know what? Transparency is the foundation for growth. To be honest with you, transparency is the foundation for growth. That's when you start growing. Melinda said, I think letting go of the past is harder. Okay. Alicia said, I think letting go of the past is harder. And that's real. That's real talk. I mean, that's just honestly. That's honesty. Let me see what she said. Even though I trust God to handle them, I can't. Oh, okay. Oh, you said it again. All right, same thing. All right, cool. So let's talk about it. Let's set the scene, because here. All right, so it took Lisa. I knew Lisa was writing a essay. So I had to wait on her. A, letting go of the past. B, trusting God to handle the past. A, I always saw God's hand when he dealt with them, but the hurt was so bad I'll never forget, and so I have to protect myself from them. Okay, those are real answers, and I appreciate those answers. Y'all keep talking to each other and encouraging each other and all those things. But let's set the scene now. Because where we took up our where we're pitching our tent tonight, at essay. Lisa, that's my girl. She knows she'll write an essay. I be telling her, I can't read all them comments, Lisa. You got to break it down in tidbits. But anyway, that's my partner, and she supports, so I ain't gonna be mad at her. All right, so let's set the scene. Genesis chapter 50 is an interesting place because we see a very healed, polished, finished form of Joseph. Joseph has gone through, if you missed last week's episode, go back and watch it. Joseph has gone from being thrown in the pit by his brothers, being sold into slavery, ending up at Potiphar's house. Ironically, we showed last week how prison was a promotion for him, because that was the portal that was used to transport him to the palace, because his destination was the palace. Now, in order for God to get us to the palaces in our life, sometimes, or though they're not sometimes, he has to take us through the process. He has to take us through the process. Now, the process sometimes is perilous, and sometimes the process is painful, but the process is always profitable. Because when we see Joseph in Genesis chapter 50, he's able to look through the lenses of forgiveness at some people who hurt him, some people who initiated his process by throwing him in a pit that he didn't deserve. Back then, he thought he was buried, but later we learned that he was planted, because Genesis chapter 37, chapter 38 produces Genesis chapter number 50. I hope that makes sense. So when we see Joseph now, Joseph is looking at his brothers. His brothers have come to him because there is no other food in the land. They were in their land starving. And while they were starving, wondering where they were going to get food, their father sent them to Egypt, not knowing that Joseph was the one in charge of the feeding plan. So here Joseph's brothers show up in Egypt needing food. They don't even recognize him, but Joseph knows exactly who they are. Let me pause parenthetically and suggest this here. There are so many people in our lives that hurt us and don't even realize or don't even recognize that they hurt us. I can trust, let me see what Alicia said. I can trust God because I have trusted him before and he's always come through. But real talk, I know that God can help with that too. I get in my own ways when letting go. Hey, but that's good. That's good. That's good. Lisa said the power of forgiveness requires a great work within. Absolutely. Now, listen, do you realize that there are some people who hurt you and don't even realize they hurt you? I mean, and see, that's when you have to deal with the spirit of offense, of being offended. You know, when you get offended, you know, you respond and act differently. But there are those who have that mistakenly or inadvertently step on your toes, and you don't even realize that they stepped on your toes. Now, it doesn't lessen the pain, because the pain is real. The pain still hurts, you know. But there are people who don't intentionally hurt you. They're just, I mean, listen. So, you stand beside a locomotive, and the momentum from the locomotive, you're gonna feel the wind, and it just might push you over, Melinda, just a little bit. It might cause you to stumble. I know the wind got real bad a couple of weeks in Arkansas, they were telling me. So sometimes just the momentum, and sometimes people are moving along about their lives, and their momentum is not where you are. And sometimes their momentum will move you and they didn't even mean to. I hope that makes sense. So sometimes there are people who hurt you, but it wasn't intentional. But dealing with this situation, Joseph, ignorance is real. I've experienced. Yeah. Joseph's situation, they were very intentional. In fact, they had thought about killing him. But thank God Reuben said, no, we're not going to kill him. He put him in the pit, hoping that he could come back and rescue him later. But when he came back, by the time the Midianites had picked him up, sold him into slavery. Now, how many people inadvertently, on purpose, whatever, their actions put you in a low place and basically put you in the pit, and they left you for dead. And the next thing you know, because you thought you were buried instead of planted, now you were purpose pain. I like that. Then now you were sold into slavery. You ended up in a strange land. And let's go back and understand why he's where he is. See, everybody doesn't understand your process. Not everyone understand how God is using you. And if they, and what, oh God, here it is. What people don't understand, Alicia Milton, they are afraid of. So what they do is they try to kick it, kill it, or cage it. The reason is because they can't contain it, right? They couldn't understand. See, everybody's not excited about the fact that God speaks to you. Joseph's brothers had somebody in their house that was connected to the living God, and they didn't even recognize it. You know why? Because they didn't understand the language. Joseph started sharing his dreams, and the dreams started changing, because one minute he dreamed about cows, next minute he dreaming about the sun and the stars. And that lets me know this, Lisa, you can't share your dream with everybody, because everybody is not excited about where God is trying to take you. And here it is. Joseph didn't even understand his dream himself. That which we know, Paul teaches us, that which we know, we only know in part. In other words, he don't give us the vision all at one time, because if he gave it to us all at one time, it would be like trying to, it would kind of be like him pouring the Atlantic Ocean in a Dixie cup. It wouldn't fit. So he's sharing it with his dreams with people who couldn't understand it, because it's always somebody in the crowd that when you share with them what God told you, they'll always say, I don't see it that way. You wasn't supposed to see it that way. And that's why you know what, Lisa, that's been one of my biggest problems, is I've spoken too soon. I've shared that. Listen, when you start speaking, the enemy starts eavesdropping. I'm teaching better than y'all letting on tonight. When you start speaking the dreams that God has shared with you privately, and you made them publicly, you've made yourself a spectacle and a target of the enemy. You do know that the enemy is not omniscient. That's an attribute that's been reserved for God, right? And so because he's not omniscient, he don't know what we don't tell him. See, if we don't tell him, then he won't know. But because y'all, Y'all ain't hearing me tonight. Y'all ain't hearing what I'm saying. Y'all ain't hearing. Let me put this phone number up in case somebody want to call in. Oh my God. We become targets when we start speaking too soon. So when he starts sharing his dreams, his brother say, who he think he is? So God, we gonna bow down to you. Folk are not excited. That's why God spoke through Habakkuk. And Habakkuk said, when you get to the point, place, and posture where you're ready to share your dream, you better make sure you write the vision, make it plain, so that those who see it may run with it. If you give them too much room to think, if you give them too much room for interpretation, oh God, so he shared his dream, and I can imagine while he's sitting in the bottom of the pit, I preached this one time. I bet he started saying, me and my big mouth. Because not everybody is excited. But here he is in the 50th chapter of his life. In Genesis chapter 50, he's in a whole different space now. He's not in the pit, but now he's in the palace. And now he's the prime minister. He's second in charge of all of Egypt. But guess what? None of that would have happened if they had not thrown him in the pit. See, sometimes God has to do you wrong or to allow you to go through it. Now, the intensity of what we go through sometimes is predicated upon how quick we learn the lesson. I wonder if I can say that again. The intensity of what we go to is sometimes predicated upon how fast and how quickly we learn the lesson. See, God cannot let us go to the next level if we've not whooped this devil. Does that make sense? So it wouldn't make sense for you to go doing 10th grade level work if you couldn't do 8th and 9th grade level work. See, every level prepares you for the next level. The pit prepared Joseph for Potiphar's house. Potiphar's house prepared Joseph for prison. Prison prepared Joseph for the palace. And now he's prime minister because he was able to. And you know how he was promoted? By walking in his natural giftedness. Y'all ought to be sharing this. He was promoted because he walked, not in his natural. He was promoted because he walked in his supernatural giftedness, the very gift that God gave him, the gift that he used. See, when he was a young man at the house, he couldn't interpret dreams like that. Some of that stuff kind of blew his mind. He spoke too soon. But see, the difference is when he came, when he went to Pharaoh's house and it was time for him to interpret the dream, what he did was he listened first and then he processed it for a little while. And then after he processed it for a little while, he came back because he wanted to make sure that he didn't speak too soon. See, sometimes I've made mistakes because I spoke too soon. Some things I just had to understand and get. Old folk, I get it now. I didn't get it back then, but I really do get it now. Some things you just have to understand better by and by. And here they are coming to the palace now, and they're coming on behalf of their father. And when they get there, they want to come in and they want to ask for food, and they don't even recognize the very person that they put in a pit is the same person that they need now. Imagine seeing the people who betrayed you, and now they need you. What would you do? What would you do if you saw somebody who betrayed you, but now they need you? What would you do? If you were in Joseph's shoes, how would you have handled it? That's the question I want to ask. If you, and be honest with me, be honest. If you were in Joseph's shoes, what would you have done? How would you have handled it? Okay, Lisa, you said you would have helped them. You're a good one. You're a good one. You're a good one. Because a lot of folk, that would have been the best chance to exact revenge. Okay, Alicia, that's good. You said you've helped people like that before. I'm sure we all have. But in order to do that, that requires some healing. That requires some healing. And honestly, it wasn't like Joseph was right there initially, because he He spoke roughly to him. Go read Genesis 37 through 50. All those chapters. That's one of the best stories in the Bible to me. He spoke roughly to him. He sent them back to get his little brother, and then to bring his father. The old me. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The old me. I'm glad I met the new you. She said the old me wouldn't have. I get it. Hey, what would the just for what do you call it? Something in giggles. What would the old you have done? Real talk. We're not gonna give any place to the devil, but what would the old you have done? Because Joseph could have easily played them. Listen, Joseph was second in command in all of Egypt. Joseph could speak and have men executed or jailed or whatever. He could have put them in jail. He could have made them suffer. Like he could have put them in a pit and left them there. Could have did whatever he wanted to, but Joseph did something that a lot of us won't do, and I'm glad y'all say y'all will. Joseph instead chose to forgive them. That's powerful. Joseph made the conscious decision rather than get revenge. I'm going to forgive you. And Joseph, you know why? Because look what he says. Genesis chapter 50, verse 19. He says, am I in the place of God? And first, before he said that, he said, fear not, because when they finally realized who he was, they knew he could have really made life difficult for them. But Joseph said, no, chill out. Fear not. You know why? Because am I in the place of God? You meant evil against me. No doubt. You meant evil against me, but God meant it unto good. In other words, God, you know, people talk about don't let the devil use you, but you can use the devil, right? Because what you meant for evil, God meant it unto good. And the end result is that many people have been saved because of what you did and what you meant unto evil. Isn't that crazy how God can take things that seemingly don't make sense and cause them to work out on our behalves? Because Joseph understood something very, 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 very powerful. Joseph understood several things. Let me see what Lisa, I used to have a foul mouth. Oh my God, I can't even imagine that. And very persuasive conversation. I used to pack man's people's dignity. Oh my God. Oh geez. Oh, I'm glad you've been delivered. All right. So Joseph understood some very powerful principles. Joseph understood that, number one, and hear me on this. Joseph understood this. If you have not shared this, please share it. I want to read what Alicia said. I was recently tested. I let God handle it. That person is reaping, and I didn't even have to touch her. Oh, that's how God does it if you let him do it. All right. Joseph understood something powerful. The first thing he understood was holding on to the hurt wouldn't change what happened. Holding on to the hurt that a person caused you is not going to change the fact that it happened. Okay? Y'all got that? Holding on to the hurt. Joseph understood that holding on to the hurt wouldn't change what happened. And Joseph also understood that revenge wouldn't heal him. Can I tell you something? Revenge might satisfy you for the moment, but satisfaction for the moment is not necessarily healing. You can eat something greasy, lay down and dream and dream you're gonna be rich, and wake up in the morning, you still got bills and you didn't win the lottery, right? Because it's just a feeling. If you feelings are not factual. So I want to let you know, revenge will not heal you. Not when it comes to true forgiveness. Does that make sense? But I can tell you what forgiveness will do. Forgiveness will free you, because Joseph was freed because he was able to forgive, and because he was freed, he was able to walk fully in his purpose. Maybe, beloved, the reason why some of you are not walking fully in your purpose is because you have not learned to forgive. Do you realize that the inability to forgive will cause you to be held hostage? See, you upset, but the person that offended you, they going on living their life. But you upset. Huh? And the thing is, if you trust God, I remember something he said, I think it was Romans 12, something he said, if thine enemy hunger, feed him. If he thirst, give him drink. For in so doing, it's as heaping coals of fire on his head. You know what? When you've done when somebody's done you wrong and you're still able to live in front of them, you ought to see. Eventually, that conscience kicks in. And if it doesn't, they've been turned over to reprobate minds anyway. So you don't have to worry about it. You let God handle that. Let what's the old song? Let God arise and thine enemies be scattered. Joseph said, see, it took a person who's experienced a lot of God did it testimonies to be able to ask a rhetorical question and say, am I in the place of God? In other words, let's really understand this. Joseph wasn't even Egyptian. He wasn't even of the nationality. He wasn't even Egyptian. And he's second in command under Pharaoh because he walked in his supernatural giftedness. He walked in his ability to be able to interpret dreams. And God used that even with an enemy nation. And now he's in charge of saving. What's up, Frank? He's in charge of saving the whole world while a famine is going on. Come on, man. And he said, am I in the place? But this wouldn't have happened. The reason why you are where you are, the reason why some of you are where you are now is because the right person hurt you. And the good thing is they hurt you then instead of hurting you later, because they let you know that they have the ability to hurt you. And guess what? Because you're on this line listening right now, that's evidence that obviously you've survived the hurt. And if you survive the hurt, God never intended for us to deal with people who are going to continually hurt us. But if that hurt kind of reminds me of Isaiah when he said it, by his stripes we are healed. Every time they were wounding him, they were healing us. See, sometimes it's sometimes it's the hurt that helps us realize that we still feel pain. Oh God, that's good. The fact that we still feel pain is an indicator that we're still alive. Being able to forgive will free you. It freed Joseph, and he was able to walk fully in his purpose. Guess what else forgiveness did for Joseph? Let's talk about it. Number one, it freed him emotionally. It freed Joseph. Y'all talk to me tonight. You know, I need y'all talking to me. It freed him He didn't have to carry the weight of bitterness and anger. Do you realize how heavy bitterness and anger are? I mean, because bitterness will keep you in the bed. Anger will keep you I said angerness, my bad. Anger will keep you anchored where you can't move forward. I mean, imagine ruling Egypt, but him still being a prisoner in his heart. Couldn't have done it. See, as a leader, you have to have a calm head, right? You can't be just weighed by emotions. You have to really be able to judge a thing fairly, you know. So, and if you're weighed by emotion and that's like somebody coming in the courtroom and the judge remembers how he was picked on when he was a child, right? If the judge was a child, but he can't sentence from his emotions. He has a sentence from the guidelines, right? He has to judge fairly. And if he's not freed emotionally, if he's still carrying the weight of bitterness and anger, then that means he's locked up. But Joseph wasn't like that. Joseph was freed emotionally. Not only was he freed emotionally, but him being having practiced forgiveness, now he's able to walk fully walk in his purpose. You know what Joseph's job was? Joseph's job, or his calling, should I say, was to save a nation. What's your calling? 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 Joseph's job, he was called. What's up, Kim? He was called. Even when see God's when you have a calling on your life, you God deals with you in stages, right? You know, you go test, and then you pass this test, and then he promotes you. Then you go to this test, then he promotes you, and so he starts showing you glimpses and previews of coming attractions, even while you're young, right? Or before you walk fully into your purpose, or before, because see, you don't just wake up one day and be second in charge. You know, you have to be prepared for that. You know, he's preparing us, you know, for the next level in our life. You know, whatever, you know, so before he could walk fully in his purpose of saving a nation, he had to handle the books at Potiphar's house. He had to handle, be in charge in prison. He had to impact a baker and a butler, and he had, you know, all these things prepared him for him to go before Pharaoh. So he couldn't do any of those things if he was still stuck in his purpose. I mean, stuck in his past. I'm sorry. There's no way Joseph could have walked fully in his purpose if he was still stuck in the past. Now, he had every reason naturally, because let me tell you something. If somebody step on your toe and you see them coming by again, naturally you're going to probably withdraw your foot because you don't want them to step on your toe again, right? So it's hard not to think about the past when you're dealing with in the present with people who previously hurt you in the past. But Joseph couldn't look in the past because he had a job that was in front of him, and that job was to save a nation. Listen, you have a calling on your life, and if you're going to operate fully in that calling, you cannot get stuck looking in the past. Does that make sense? Yeah. See, some of us right now, think about it. And if this is you, then you know, just eat it. But some of us right now are asking God for more, but we haven't even dealt with what's already in our heart. Think about that. Some of us right now asking God to do something more in our lives, but we haven't even dealt with what's already in our heart. Didn't I tell y'all last week? Yeah, I did. If you won't see, let's consider our heart an altar, right? This is an altar, the altar of our heart, right? And we want the altar, you know, the spirit, and the spirit represents sometimes is represented in fire, right? So we want the fire to burn on our heart, right? But some things represent ashes in our lives. And one thing that really represents ashes is unforgiveness, our inabilities to forgive, right? So if we want the altar to burn fully and freely, y'all please share this. If we want it to really burn, the best way to make a fire burn is to remove the ashes off of the altar, because the ashes suck the oxygen out of the fire, which causes it not to be able to burn like it normally would. The reason why God cannot move some of us forward, the reason why he has not granted some of our requests, is because we ask amiss. What do you mean you ask amiss? That means because we still have ashes that we fail to ask him to remove, and the fire can't burn until, and in other words, let me ask you this question. What if your inability to forgive or your failure to forgive is causing you to forfeit future blessings? What if God wants to bless you right now, but the thing that's stopping it is because you won't forgive whoever did you wrong? Yeah. I'm preaching better than y'all letting on tonight. Some of us asking God for more, but haven't dealt with what's already in our heart. Yeah. Yeah. So let's talk about so Joseph, what forgiveness actually did for Joseph. It freed him emotionally. It allowed him to fully walk in his purpose. But you know what else it did? It restored his family. So many families are broken up right now because somebody won't forgive. Somebody said something at the dinner table 7, 8, 10, 15, 28 years ago, and you ain't been back to a family reunion since. But you want God to trust you with more. But you can't even go back and deal with, and I'm talking to myself. Jesus, Joseph didn't just forgive, but he actually provided for his brother. He said, y'all go home, go get my brother, but let me give you this corn. Let me give you this right quick. Take that with you. Bring your daddy back. Come on back. Da, da, da. And see, when Joseph was, when he finally forgave, he positioned his entire family for favor. Listen, when you learn how to forgive, God can send blessings that not only will bless you, but will bless your whole bloodline. I mean, your children and your children's children. I mean, God will provide a peace that surpasseth all understanding. But I hear you. Some of y'all say, nah, Rev, I ain't there yet. I get it. Some of y'all say, no, I ain't ready to forgive like that. But if you're not ready to forgive, you're not ready. And let me say this. I understand it is a process. I'm not saying it's easy. I am not. Hear me. Nobody in this world, amen, lights. Nobody said it was easy, but it is necessary. It is necessary. Here it is. Here's a question. Next question. I want y'all rock with me. Those in the chat, answer this question for me. Have you ever held on to something for years only to realize later that it wasn't even worth it? It reminds me of the story of the Hatfields and the McCoys. Y'all ever watch Andy Griffith? Well, I think two families that were fighting against each other, and they couldn't even remember why they were fighting. They just, Andy said, well, why y'all fighting? He said, well, because my daddy fought. Then the other one said, well, because his daddy fought. Then he said, because his daddy fought. But nobody knows what actually happened. See, sometimes things happen so long ago that we really don't even remember, but we still hold on to them. We hold on to them for years, only to discover later in life that it really wasn't worth it. All you lost over all that time was time, and you can't make up for time. I had a friend one time. I mean, if he's listening, I'm sorry, but I need some people to learn from our situation. I had a friend of mine one time. He got mad at me, Alicia. He got mad at me about something that he speculated. And he said, man, we get off this phone, we ain't never got to call me again, because I don't know if you did this or not, but if you did it, then I'm going, you did me wrong, and but I don't know if you did it. And if you did, when we get off this phone, don't ever call me. I said, no, stop. Let me stop you. First of all, you started out by saying you don't know. I said, and you're right, you don't know. And I'm going to tell you you're wrong. But since you said when we get off this phone that you didn't want to talk no more, I said, I'm going to tell you like this, have a nice life in Jesus. And I withdrew. And I was wrong for that, because I could have easily just said, because my pride stuck in, I could have easily said, I didn't say that. I didn't do that. You're wrong. I could have played for the relationship, but I was willing to give it up just because my pride was hurt. How many of us have done that? But later on in life, I came back to him several years later, and we talked, and now we're cool. And we lost a lot of time. Over the years, we lost a lot of time because I held on to something. He held on to something, but only to realize later in life that it wasn't even worth it. We could have been, children could have been getting raised together. All kinds of things could have been going on, but we holding on to something that didn't even matter, had no significance. And some of us right now,
Y'all not answering because you're shame. I get it. I get it. Thank you, Alicia. Alicia, of course, it's almost never worth it if you can ever get to the other side of it. Yes or no? Have you ever held on to something for years only to realize later that it wasn't worth it? And if you did, drop a light bulb in the chat. Let me know that that you came to that moment of realization. That you came to that moment of realization later on. You had like light bulb, like, why did I lose? I mean, because I missed some of those. I mean, I missed a lot of family reunions. I missed a lot. You ain't never hold on to nothing and realize it wasn't worth it. You a great one, Lisa. Let me give you a high five in the spirit. I give you, because I know I did. I promise I did. And I promise I did. I missed a lot of family reunions. Thank you, Alicia. Alicia said she had a moment of realization. Thank you, Alicia. But listen, I missed a lot of family reunions I shouldn't have missed it, because for a long time I didn't care if I came home. And that nonchalance, a lot of times, is just mask for hurt. It's that nonchalant spirit, I don't care, that I don't give a flip, all that kind of stuff. That's just a mask for pain. Come on, talk to me, somebody. Because nobody wants to look like they're in pain. Sometimes we think pain is a strength, or pain is a badge of honor. So we try to cover pain up, dress pain up, put cologne on pain and make it smell good, do all we can so that pain is palatable for other people. And sometimes we try to hurt other people before they hurt us. And we say that if we're not around, then they can't hurt me. Does that make, am I talking to anybody tonight? I've held on to things. I'm talking about me. I know it doesn't happen to some of y'all. I've held on to things later on to realize they just were not worth it. If I could get that time back, if I could go back to my homeboy and get those 8-10 years back, I look up, his kids grown, my kids grown, and for what? It wasn't worth it. What you say, Frank? Frank said, I ain't gonna waste my cologne. Listen, if it's pain, deal with the pain. If the pain is a result of an open wound and the wound needs stitches, if the wound needs antiseptic, if the wound needs alcohol, deal with it so that it can scab up and eventually scar. Deal with it so you can eventually move on. Quit putting the pain out. Here it is. Too many of us walk around with infected sore because we did not deal with the pain properly. Many of us have infections. I'm preaching better than y'all let know. What? Let's just play devil's advocate. Let's play devil's advocate for a minute. Let's definitely go. No matter how you dress it up, that doesn't change it. It's still pain. Absolute. Here it is. Let's Dwyer, brother Dwyer. I'm gonna do something. I'm not gonna do eisegesis, but I'm gonna perhaps the text. I'm gonna perhaps the story. What Lisa, I'm gonna do this. Don't call Bishop and tell him, okay? Because I don't want nobody to know that. I know they say it's against the rule to do eisegesis when looking at scripture, but I want to. I'm gonna perhaps the text tonight. What if Joseph had not forgiven? What if Joseph didn't forgive his brothers? Let's flip it around. What if Joseph had not forgiven his brothers? He'd be stuck like some of us. Yeah. I really do. Dwyer, play with me for a minute. Talk to me for a minute. What if Joseph, we just perhaps, and we listen to all y'all scholarly academicians and all y'all who are theologians and whatnot. We're not doing eisegesis right now. We're just doing a little perhaps in the text. We just perhaps in the text, okay? But what if? Just what if? I'm just perhaps in it. What if Joseph chose not to forgive his brothers? Think about it. What if he stayed angry? Because honestly, I can just ask, how does it affect you when you don't forgive? You know what I'm saying? Because I ain't gonna lie, I sleep real good right now. And that's because I've forgiven some people who hurt me. Yeah. What if he let bitterness control him? See, listen, what if he spent his time plotting revenge instead of walking in his calling? See, that's what I like about Nehemiah. Nehemiah said, I'm too busy for you, Sanballat, to buy, you cats. I ain't coming down from this wall because I got a great work that I got to do. I got to build this wall that's going to protect the city. And if I come down, then I'm going to be distracted from the assignment that God has given me. So if he wasted time plotting revenge, then he would have came down from the assignment. See, when you get to a certain, forgiveness will free you so much that it begins to elevate you where you can't come back down. That's it. You're focused at that point. Joseph was focused. He ain't had time to be plotting revenge. He was walking in his calling. Listen, you don't have time to be plotting revenge against them. God has a call. Listen, the enemy would not have you in his sights if he did not see the purpose in your life. Yes, Lord. If he don't waste time on people who aren't powerful. Does that make sense? He doesn't assign imps to people who are not powerful. And if you're focused on your assignment, if you're focused on your purpose, there you go. Frank B said, God said, cast it all on him. Why, Frank? Because you left the comma out, because he cares. Is that right? And that's what the songwriter said, because he cares. Cast all of your cares up on him. You ain't got to worry about it. You can go on and continue your assignment. Everybody on this line right now, you have Frank, Lisa, Kim, Alicia, Dwayne, all of you, you have an assignment, and you cannot let the enemy aggravate you and cause you to miss out on your assignment. Does that make sense? So what if Joseph didn't forgive? First of all, he another thing, he might have forfeited his position in Egypt. How many positions have you forfeited? Because you couldn't forgive. I know I have. I'm just talking about me. Lisa Kim got her hand raised. She said, I'm there. Yeah. How many positions have you forfeited? Because God can't use you until you go through what you've grown through and shown that you've grown through it. If you've not grown up since, you do understand that the test produces the testimony. See, the word forfeit, that's the same word for loss in the Greek. Paul said, I count all things loss for the excellency of the knowledge of Christ Jesus. The word loss in that context means I forfeit those things. See, the enemy can't take you from your assignment. I wish I knew what you wanted me to say again. I'd say it, but I don't know what it is. Type it out, I'll say it again. The enemy can't take you from your assignment. He doesn't have that kind of power. I need a hoop right there. Hold on. The enemy cannot. Oh, yeah. The test produces the testimony. Yes, sir. The enemy cannot take you from your assignment. I got a hoop right quick, Dwyer. Let me just hoop a little bit. Oh, Lord. Okay, I'm back. Now, he cannot. Instead, we are drawn away of our own lust. So, if we can't forgive, we've allowed ourselves to be drawn away. Because God has a perfect plan that he wants us to stay on. Until we learn the lesson that was lent to us, until we consider the clue and move forward, we can't. Are you on the piano? We can't move forward. One time. We cannot move. Here it is. What's the music? You want God to forgive you. Turn it over to the Lord. He will work things out. Okay, I'm done. But yeah, so if you turn it over to him, he'll work it out. But if you don't, If you don't, you can forfeit your position. He might have forfeited his position if he didn't forgive. Next thing, he might have missed his God-given assignment. Do not miss your assignment because you have unforgiveness in your heart. Don't do it. Don't do it. Do not miss your assignment. I'm gonna finish this tonight. Do not miss your assignment. Joseph, he had a bigger assignment because he understood. He might have thought in the beginning that he was buried in the pit, but no, he later learned that he was planted in the pit. And once you realize that you've been planted, why are you having such a hard time forgiving? I'm not rushing. I'm gonna work on through this. And then the final thing is, he might not have restored his family. His family might have died in what they were in. His family might have become extinct because they were dealing with a family, dealing with a famine in that time. But now he's able to provide for his family, and now their generation is able to keep running. Come on, talk to me. Sometimes holding on to pain costs more than letting that pain go. I'm preaching better than y'all letting on tonight. I promise. I need to put the cash app up, y'all. I need to get an offering. I need. Kim, I need to get an offering tonight, Jay. I promise you, I'm preaching better than y'all letting on tonight. I am preaching better than y'all letting on. Let me put this cash app up for those that want to be a blessing tonight. But anyway, if Joseph had not forgiven, that's what might have happened. He might not have restored his family. And sometimes holding on to pain it costs more than letting it go. It costs more than letting it go. All right. One of my final section. So here it is. How do we forgive? This is what we were trying to get to tonight. How do we forgive? But before we do that, here's the last question of the night that I want you all to participate in. What do you think is the bigger danger? What is the biggest danger of refusing to forgive? What do you think is the biggest danger? What kind of danger is it? If you're refusing to forgive, how is that going to hurt you? How is that going to hurt you? Does it leave you open so they can hurt you again? Now you're going to recognize the characteristics because you're going to learn from last time. Yeah, you're going to learn from last time. You're going to learn from last time. So I know some of y'all think, okay, I hear you, but how do I forgive? How do I forgive? I'm going to help you with that tonight. Let me say this. Forgiveness is not, I'm going to give you the 5 ways to forgive. I'm going to give you 5 ways to forgive. And y'all can use these if they help you. Great. But let me say this before then. Forgiveness is a process. It's not an event. It's not. You don't just wake up. I'm sorry. If you don't just wake up one day and just be able to forgive, that's a process. You don't wake up and suddenly forget everything that happened to you. It takes work. It does. It takes work. It takes a step-by-step process to help you walk in forgiveness. Well, what is the first step? Let me give you the first step. Hold on. Let me give you the first step. The first step to walk in forgiveness is to acknowledge the hurt. You have to acknowledge the hurt. Okay? You have to acknowledge the hurt. If you're going to be able to forgive someone, you have to first of all acknowledge the hurt. You have to say, you can't heal. Here it is. You cannot heal from what you won't admit. I know some of you all are super tough, and you don't experience pain like that. I get it. I understand. Or you don't want anybody to see you experiencing any pain. I understand. I've been there myself. I get it. I get it. But I'm gonna tell you, you will not heal from what you won't admit. So be real with yourself about who hurt you, how they hurt you, and how it affected you. Can I say that again? Thank you, Bishop. How you doing tonight? Be real with yourself. That means, I talk about it in my book.
stuck on the couch. That when I was stuck in that state of stagnation, because that's where I was. One day I was in the bathroom and I walked by the mirror, and when I walked by the mirror, I actually caught a glimpse of myself in it, and I looked at myself and I said, "Hey, self." And I stayed there for a minute, and I looked at a lot of areas that needed adjustments. And as I saw those areas that needed adjustments, I started to deal with those adjustments one by one. And one thing I had to deal with who hurt me. And guess what? Sometimes the person that hurt you is the person that's looking back at you in the mirror. Be real about who hurt you, how they hurt you, and how it affected you. If it's you hurting yourself, learn how you're hurting yourself and how it is affecting you. See, this whole process about moving on in forgiveness is not about pretending that it didn't happen. It's about facing it so you can move forward. You got to move. Yeah, Lisa, you got to move beyond self-sabotage. Yeah. You got to be real. Acknowledge the hurt. That's the first thing that think about this. What is something that you've been carrying for too long? This is a rhetorical question. If you want to share it, share it. But what's something that you have been carrying for too long that you need to face? Because you will not heal. Hear me, warriors. Hear me. You will not heal from what you will not admit. Acknowledge the hurt. That's the first step if you want to walk in forgiveness. What's step number 2, Kirkland? I got you. Step number 2, make the decision to forgive. Y'all better share this. They got 3 or 4 more to go. Share this and like or love this post. Do something for me, please. Let me know you're there. But yeah, make the decision to forgive. Listen, forgiveness is a choice, not a feeling. Do y'all hear what I just said? Forgiveness is a choice. It's not a feeling. Bishop Lewis said unforgiveness is like a prison without walls. Alicia Milton said, she said amen. She said the same as in counseling. If you lie about what's going on, you only cheat yourself. You stay stuck. Absolutely. I would have stayed stuck if I kept trying to think everything was everybody else's fault. I wasn't dealing with the man in the mirror. If I would have just kept on playing the blame game, practicing point the finger writers, there's no way I would have been delivered. But I made the choice to forgive. And the first person I had to forgive, Bishop, first person I had to forgive, Kim, the first person I had to forgive, Alicia, was the man in the mirror, James H. Kirkland II. I had to make the choice. And forgiveness is a choice. It's not a feeling. If you wait until you feel like forgiving, you'll stay stuck. Let me say it. Yep. If you wait until you feel like forgiving, you will stay stuck. Decide today. I will no longer allow this situation to control me. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I've dealt with this long enough. Say this out loud. I choose to release this hurt and walk in my purpose. In fact, y'all that on here, write that in the chat for me. Those that want to go to the next level, that want God to release you and give you all the blessings, want to remove the ashes that are on the altar of your heart. I want you to type that for me. Say it out loud with me. Type it. Say this. I choose to release this hurt and walk in my purpose. I choose to release this hurt and walk in my purpose. Make the decision to forgive if you want to forgive. I'm going to type that in the chat myself. Let me put that in the chat myself. Yeah, let me put that in the chat myself. I need to type that because I'm still under construction. For real. So let me put that in the chat myself. I gotta take a pause. Hold on. I choose to, there it is, release this hurt and walk in my purpose. Yeah, I gotta put that in there myself. Yes, Lord. That's power. You know what y'all just know what we're doing that's writing this now? Though we know what we're doing right now. We're making a vow and we're taking the first step to forgive some people. Because you know what? I don't want anything, I don't want to be guilty of standing in my own way. If I had the power to change my situation, you know, I mean, I'm on the backside of, you know, I'm in my 50s now. I ain't got time to be practicing. My punches are calculated now. If I've done somebody wrong, I can get over it. I can get over it. I choose to release this hurt so I can walk in my purpose. So the first thing, if I'm going to walk in forgiveness, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to acknowledge the hurt. The second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make the decision to forgive. But the third thing I'm going to do is I'm going to release the desire for revenge. That means you got to stop praying those God get them testimonies. You know, those God get them prayer. Lord, get my enemies. Lord, get them. Lord, take care of them. Lord, they did me wrong. Lord, you got to stop praying those. You don't have to pray those. You don't have to. See, this is the hardest part. But listen, revenge does not heal. It only prolongs the pain. See, what revenge is like the scab that's on the sore. You keep picking at the scab and it never really becomes healed, right? It feels satisfied in the moment, but it really doesn't heal. It prolongs the pain. Joseph could have punished his brothers, but you know what he said? I'm going to let God handle it. Same thing Paul said, Romans chapter 12, verse number 19. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. God, he'll repay. And can't nobody get them like God can get them. So I don't have to tell God to get them. The best thing I can do is live in front of my enemies. The sweetest revenge is survival. And let me tell you something. It didn't make sense. A lot of times, you know, growing in agriculture don't make sense. But sometimes if you want something to grow, you know what you got to do? You got to spread some manure all the way around it. Can I tell y'all what manure is? Manure is let me some water. Hold on. Manure is mess. Manure is dung. Manure is boo-boo. You know, manure. And sometimes the stuff we go through is like mess. It's like I can't say it. But you got to release the desire for revenge. Be honest. You don't have to type it in the chat, but I want you to answer in your heart. Here it is. Have you ever wasted energy wishing someone would suffer? I got both hands up. Have you ever wasted energy wishing someone would suffer? Can I ask you a question? How did that affect you? Lisa, being honest tonight, look at you, girl. I know I have wished that my enemy would. I'd be like, God, let them go through what I'm going through. And you know what? They didn't. They still prospered, seem to be doing well. And I'm like, God, why are they prospering and I'm suffering? Then I heard the word say, fret not thyself because of evildoers.
Neither be thou envious of the workers of iniquity. Why? Because they got a time limit. They shall soon. Now, I don't know when, but soon is soon. See, soon shows a chronological connection to the text. Soon, the literary connection is a chronological one when he says that they shall soon be cut down like the grass. Now, see, God don't move in the chronos. God moves in the kairos. So if we're looking for him to happen in our own time, it don't happen like that. It happens when God desires for it to happen. But they shall soon be cut down. Okay. So I don't even waste time praying those prayers anymore. I'm just trying to get, to my healing. I'm trying to get proper oxygen and, trying to make sure I eat a little better. And eventually I'm going to start getting back on the treadmill because I just want to live my life and I want to live a little bit longer. So I ain't got time to worry about getting revenge. I had to release the desire for revenge. I want to see them prosper. I want to see, because you remember something about God making the enemy the footstool. So if he's my enemy and he's my footstool, I want to see them prosper, because the higher they are, the higher I can go. Oh God. Okay. So you got to release the desire for revenge. So if we're going to walk in forgiveness, first of all, acknowledge the hurt. Number 2, make the decision to forgive. Number 3, got to release the desire for revenge. But here's the next one. My bad. I didn't mean to do it like that. I forgot. I did it wrong. We got to set boundaries where needed. Let me fix that. We have to set boundaries where boundaries are needed. Does that make sense? I said we have to set boundaries where forgiveness does not. Let me say this. Forgiveness does not mean that we have to reconnect with toxic people. Nope. I am not saying that at all. It does not mean, hear me well, warriors. Forgiveness does not mean that we have to go back to being friends and all that kind of stuff. No. We don't have to do all that. But in order for me to move forward, I have to forgive. Does that make sense? So in order for me to do that, I have to set boundaries. And part of that setting boundaries, because see, you can forgive someone. Hear this. Hear me. You can forgive someone and still protect your peace, because peace is important. If I ever get married again, Lord knows, I mean, I plan one day, if the Lord says the same, that might happen. But if I ever get married again, my first requirement is someone that's peaceful and that's coming in trying to bring and protect peace. I can't have anyone in my life that is going to disturb my peace. I can't do it. Peace is a requirement. So if anyone is in my life and they're not bringing peace, then that individual has to go. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So you have to set boundaries. Yeah. You have to. I had to read some of y'all comments because I was trying to fix that overlay right there. You have to set boundaries where necessary. Joseph forgave his brothers, but he also tested their character before fully. See, if you're gonna let people back in your life, it's okay to test. See, last thing you want to do is what, Bishop? What is it? If you give people enough rope, what'll happen? They'll end up hanging themselves. I mean, you ain't got to worry about that. If you give people enough rope,
they will hang. So if they're trying to, if you've just made a decision to forgive, and even if you decided to move forward with a relationship with them, that's okay. I mean, nobody's knocking you for that. If you do that, that's okay. Do that. But if you do it, do like Joseph did. Joseph said, I'll do this, but I need you to do. First of all, you got to go back home, go back to your homeland, because he's speaking in a whole nother language, acting like he couldn't know that he didn't understand. But he said, first of all, you got to go get my little brother. Then you got to come back. He told them, go get your brother, go get your younger brother. Then he said, go bring your daddy back, go do all these things. All these things transpired before he even revealed to them who he was. He wanted to test and see if they were going to, because see, they could have taken the first batch of food, went back home and never returned because of how he spoke harshly to them. But he didn't do that. They went and they actually passed the test. Oh, thank you, Bishop. Bishop said they can actually bring peace if they are whole like you. See, if God changes you, how come he can't change the people around you? How come he can't change the people that hurt you? Some people, they really want to apologize. They just don't know how you're going to respond. Jacob wasted a whole lot of years. He could have gone and talked to his brother Esau, but he was so afraid, thinking Esau was going to kill him. So you got to be willing to test people. And if they pass the test, then a relationship could be erected. A relationship can be restored. Yeah. And they did what they were supposed to do. And he did that by setting boundaries. And guess what? Joseph, oh, here it is. Thank you, Holy Ghost. Joseph gave what he could afford to lose. That was good right there. That was good. When he gave them the food to go back to Egypt, he gave them what he could afford to lose. So I hear you, Bishop, when you say I'm not going to let the same snake bite me twice. I get that, but he gave them what he could afford to lose. If they didn't come back, it wouldn't have hurt Joseph at all. If you get, you have to learn how to set boundaries where needed. I know people who let the same people hurt them over and over again. That's a problem. That's insanity. Doing something over and over again, expecting a different result, is insanity. That's insanity. That's insanity. So let me ask you a question. Because you don't have to restore that relationship once you forgive them. You just can forgive them to free yourself. Let me ask you a question. And you don't have to answer it out loud, but answer a question. I want you to answer it in your heart. But is there someone you need to forgive from a distance? That's the question. Is there someone you need to forgive from a distance? Yeah. And I mean forgive them, because forgiveness is when you put something in a place where it no longer affects you, it no longer hurts you. If it's still, if you forgive them from a distance, and you're keeping them over there because you feel like if you're exposed to them, it's gonna still hurt you, that ain't really forgiveness. It still control you. Come on, let's talk. Because I'm trying to tell you how to walk in forgiveness. I'm trying to help you walk in the area of forgiveness. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to show you. And if you're going to do that, first thing you have to do is you have to, first of all, admit there's an issue, acknowledge the hurt. Secondly, you got to make a decision to forgive. Third thing you have to do is you have to release the desire for revenge. Fourthly, set boundaries where necessary. But here's the final thing. We're almost done. Once you do those things, you got to keep moving forward. You can't let anger keep you anchored. You can't let bitterness be a barrier. You can't let a spirit of cantankerousness be your cell or your prison. Instead, you got to move on. You got to move forward, because guess what? Forgiveness is not about them. It never has been. Forgiveness is not. Hear me, warriors. Hear me, Stu Crew. Hear me well. Forgiveness is not It's not about them. Forgiveness is about you. When I started forgiving, look, you see this on my shirt? That's part of me being on the path to better. And even when I was hurting, even when I was in pain, I wore my own merch every day. I was a walking billboard for myself. Every time I looked in the mirror, every time I talked to I reminded myself that I was on the path to better. But why? Why? Because I had to keep moving forward. That doesn't mean that I wasn't stuck for a season, because I was. I wrote the book, Stuck on the Couch. I was stuck for an extended period of time. I was stuck. But once I recognized the hurt, once I made the decision to forgive myself and others, once I released the desire for revenge and I started setting boundaries, I was able to move forward. Joseph could have stayed bitter and missed his destiny. He could have chose to die in that pit. He could have tried to run away from Potiphar's house. He could have anything, could have died in prison. But he chose not to stay bitter. Therefore, he made his appointment with his destiny, and he chose to move forward. I'm challenging you tonight. Don't stay bitter, because you don't want to miss your destiny. And if you choose not to stay bitter, you're making the choice to move forward. That's a good choice. And when you move forward, when you choose to forgive, guess what? You make space for God's blessings to flow in your life. I don't want to be the one to cause blessings not to flow in my life because I'm bitter. I choose to forgive. I do. I choose to forgive. And I know that if I choose to forgive, that God can and that God will bless me. Listen, you know why? Because he said in his word, I will withhold no good thing from those who walk upright. I'm not. Y'all ever heard the expression about getting out of your own way? When you choose not to forgive, that's the equivalence of being stuck, being an eclipse, to being something that is stopping you from moving forward. I don't know about you, but I want to move forward. I'm like the children of Israel. I've compassed this rock long enough. I've compassed this mountain long enough. Now I'm ready to go forward. Joseph could stand there in chapter 50 and say to his brothers, fear not. Yeah, I got the power. I could make life real hard for you. I really could. I could make life hard for you. I could make life difficult for you. But fear not. Why? Because I am in the place of God. You thought evil against me, but God meant it unto good to save much people alive. Here's a question. Who do you need to forgive so you can step into your next season? Drop a rocket or an arrow in the comment if you're ready to start walking in forgiveness. Because I'm telling you, forgiveness will free you. Forgiveness will free you. Yeah. Joseph could honestly say, y'all did me wrong. Y'all did me wrong. But it's cool. Why? Because I'm in the place of God. I can honestly say right now, I might not have all I want. I've got some scars from the pain that I've experienced in my life. I've got some war wounds because I have been in some battles. Jesus. But Bishop G.T. Lewis, Dr. Rayshawn Howard, you know what? I can honestly say that I'm in the place of God. I'm supposed to be here right now, 10:25 on March 17, 2025, 10:24 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm supposed to be here. I'm in the place of God. You thought there were so many that thought evil against me, but I can't even give them any more free press because I'm right where I'm supposed to be. Yeah, that's good. Listen, if anyone wants to partner with this, with our podcast, and you believe in some of the things that we're saying, feel free to reach out to us. We do have some partnership packages that are available. If you want to be a patron and you just want to start sowing into this ministry, and that's what it is. If you want to start sowing into this ministry because this ministry blesses you, you can bless where you eat. It's okay to tip the waiter. If you want to be a blessing, there are different ways to be a blessing. There's the Cash App, there's the Zelle, and there is the PayPal. There are ways you can partner with this to let us know you appreciate what we do and how we do it, because we bring it to you every week the same way God gives it to us, and we trust that you are blessed by the messages that God gives us. We try to show it to you a different way from a different lens, but yeah, whoever you have failed to forgive, release them tonight. I've given you the steps. What are the steps? Number one, I'm gonna give them to you again. I'm gonna give you the steps one more time. Number one, acknowledge the hurt. Number two, make the decision to forgive. Number three, release the desire for revenge. Number four, set boundaries where they are needed. And number five, keep moving forward. Listen, I am James Kirkland II, aka the Mind Massager. I have appreciated you all, Bishop, all of you all hanging out with me tonight. But remember, as I always say in closing, the world is changing. My question for you is, why do you remain the same? Y'all have a good night, and we'll talk again soon. All right. Talk to you later.
Intellectual stew. Intellectual